Welcome everybody to CORTEX2 Open Call to Webinar 1, where we're going to be focusing on everything that you need to know on how to apply for our opportunity. Today, speakers are Alain Pagani, coordinator of CORTEX2, and myself, Ellie Shtereva. I am part of the F6S team. I am the Open Call manager of Open Call 2, and I'm also going to be moderating this session. What we have prepared for you as part of our agenda, first we're going to introduce to you the CORTEX2 project and what we are developing as part of it. Then we're going to move to the Open Call 2 offer, so everything you need to know in terms of requirements, who we are looking for, and for you to assess whether this opportunity is actually for you. At the end, we're going to move to the technology offer, where we're going to introduce you to the CORTEX2 architecture and what is available for you to be co-developing with us. And at the end, we're going to move to the Q&A session. As mentioned, this is going to happen through the chat box. So please type in your questions in the Q&A section. There we're going to be reading them, and either we're going to be responding to them in a written format during the session, or at the end we're going to be answering them lively. Those are the speakers, as I've mentioned, for today. As a reminder, this session is going to be recorded. We have one more webinar planned. We're going to be focusing there on the specific topics for Open Call 2 under which you can apply. And then we're going to have our technical partners unfolding more details about each topic, the challenges, the requirements, and also what we expect from you while collaborating with us under the CORTEX2 funding program. Post your questions in the chat. Please do post them in the Q&A section, not in the chat box. So now we're moving to what is Cortex part, and Alain Pagani, the coordinator of CORTEX2, will unfold this for you. Alain, I'm stopping to share my screen and you can share yours.
Yes, thank you very much, Ellie, for the introduction. I will just share my screen. Excellent. I guess you should be seeing my screen now.
Yes, perfectly.
So welcome everyone. Good morning, everybody. I'm Alain Pagani. I'm from the German Research Center for Artificial Intelligence, the FGI, and I'm the coordinator of the project CORTEX2. So it's my pleasure to welcome you. I would like to give you an overview of the project first, before we go into the details of the open call. So what is Cortex? That's the question. And also another question is why Cortex? Why this name? And why the square? So actually Cortex is a European project. Cortex is an acronym that stands for Cooperative Real-Time Experiences with XR. So the square comes from the double X for experience and extended reality. It's a Horizon Europe project. It started in September 22, has a duration of 36 months. So it will last until next year, mid of year. We have 10 partners and we have a total funding of 8 million euro, and half of it, 4 million euro, are dedicated to third parties projects, such as the ones we are launching now with this second open call. And what are we doing in Cortex? Well, Cortex is actually a kind of answer to a problem that started a little bit before we submitted the proposal, which was a lot of people starting to work from home as a consequence of the COVID pandemic. Then people started to, or companies started to deploy video conferencing systems, Teams, Zoom, and the like, in order to allow people to work from home. This was seen as a marvelous and excellent news. But actually, when you ask people if they feel good, happy, and comfortable with using these remote cooperation tools, like in this poll that was done by Buffer, then only 31% of the persons asked answered that they don't have any struggle working remotely. So this means basically that the rest, 69%, have struggles in working remotely. And you have many different problems, difficulty focusing, difficulty staying motivated, loneliness, and also difficulties with collaboration and communication. And we were conscious of this problem, and we wanted to make the remote work more appealing and also more useful, and also enhance the cooperative aspect. So give people the possibility of working together in teams in more useful ways. So the challenges linked to this problem is that first, the remote work, of course, is nice. People don't need to commute. You save a lot of time. But the existing solutions are not really ready, or it's possible only for certain types of work where you have to work mainly with the desktop application, but not if you have to work with more complex situations. And the idea is that we wanted to mix this remote working, video conferencing tools with extended reality tools, and the tools that were available at the time of beginning of the project were not completely ready or linked to the video conferencing tools. So what we wanted to target is a wide adoption of remote work while addressing all the difficulties that were mentioned before. So what type of scenarios are we speaking about? We want to be able to put people together, even if they are working in remote places, and even if they are working in very complex problems. So in this example here, you have one person, Arthur, working in a factory, needs to understand a complex problem, does not know how to launch a security process or make a machine work. So he can connect virtually with a colleague that works from home, Ashley here. She's wearing a VR headset. She can actually visualize the surroundings of the person on site. So she's virtually living in the same place and can start giving him instructions or start a discussion while using extended reality tools. And to make the things even a little bit more complicated, we want also a third person that is traveling at this very moment to be able to join the conference and to speak also with these persons and give her opinions. This is Rebecca here. And the trick here is that she's using a smartphone. So this shows that in terms of requirements, we need to address multiple device types. So laptops, smartphones, PCs, and HMD, so head-mounted displays. We also need to address different client types, so people can connect with devices that are Unity compatible, some not. And we want to offer a series of XR services, and I will come a little bit later more on this, but globally it needs 3D reconstruction, the possibility of creating avatars, the possibility of interpreting what you're doing. So the goals of the project is to generalize the access to remote collaboration with using XR experiences and making this possible for a wider range of sectors than only desktop work. And for this, we developed different things, XR experiences. We want this to be resource efficient, so we have developed also a video transmission tool that makes it more resource efficient. We want this to be very easy to use, natural, flexible. There is the notion of semantic interpretation, multi-channel, because we are dealing with language, with vision, and semantics. We have an integration of IoT devices, so we can actually connect to any Internet of Things devices. And as an additional layer, we also analyze the ethical, legal, and societal implications of this development and have a dedicated work package on this. So this project actually comes with a number of innovations. The first is that we want to use AR instead of video conferencing, so augmenting your reality. This is a very important part, but actually we also cover VR, so we have the full AR, VR continuum, so you can create VR experiences. These have and are resource efficient, so they are this for many reasons. First, because allowing for this cuts down all the travel expenses and also energetic expenses, so you don't have to travel to the sites. But also our own tools, we try to make them energy efficient. We use audio, video, and multi-sensory input. We integrate IoT devices easily, and we conceived the platform as extensible. So we want this platform to be extensible with new modules. And some of these new modules are the projects that you will present and apply, because this is the focus of the open calls. So inside our consortium, we also developed 3 use cases, 3 pilots. I will present them also a little bit more in the third part of this webinar. But to give you an overview, we have 3 pilots. The first one is AR in an industrial context. This is globally the use case that I presented earlier with the 3 persons working together in AR. The second one is based on virtual reality, and it's about training. So you have one trainer that can supervise multiple trainees that evolve in a virtual environment to learn something. And the last one is an extension of classical business meetings that could happen even on a classical video conferencing system. But we project this into a VR session where people actually virtually sit around at the same table. They can see each other, they can see the avatars, and they can exchange information. So to do all of this, we rely on our partners that I will present a little bit later, but we rely also on a backbone that is the Rainbow backbone. So we are lucky to have a company in our consortium, Alcatel-Lucent Enterprise, a French company, that actually develops a kind of video conferencing tool integrated with a chat and document exchange. So it's a communication as a service tool. Basically, you can use it for video conferences and exchanging documents and data. And this is an existing product, but we use this and we extend it with all these possibilities of interaction offered by XR. The extensions are multiple. So here I give you 4 examples. So we are doing a 3D reconstruction. This is necessary in order to actually share your environment with your remote colleagues. So we have developed tools for easily scanning 3D environments and sharing it. The second is that we are looking for creating avatars based on single pictures. So here you have an example where my colleague is piloting an avatar, and so you can use this new face in any conference. Below you have the conversational agents and semantic interpretation. This is something very useful when you have multiple people interacting and discussing. So we have an agent, an AI agent that is actually listening to the conversation, can actually create automatically summaries of the discussions. It can also transcript the text into or the spoken language into a text. But also you can actually ask this agent to provide you with some information that it will search into the context of the business meeting. And the last one is the connection with IoT. So here we have an integration with an IoT framework where you can virtually connect any device that has an IoT interface, and you can start to get information or data from this device, and also you can trigger this device from within your experience. In order to do that, we have partners, of course. So we are a consortium of 10 partners. Here you see the logos of the partners. So it's a nice mix of universities, research institutes. We have large companies. We have smaller companies. Each of them has a specialty in the consortium, but globally we cover all the aspects needed in the development of this project. And yes, this I need to. Okay, I think. So we have three development phases. Actually, our project is, of course, structured into work packages and tasks, but we have a kind of linear development of this, where we started by collecting requirements, modeling the different applications we want to do. Then we entered the technology development phase, where we were developing all these modules and integrating them with the Rainbow platform. And we will finish the project with an assessment and validation, mainly of our use cases, our pilots, that will be assessed with the real users. And you see that in parallel, in the second line, we have also these open calls for, we have two types of open calls for co-development and use case development. And well, this webinar is about co-development, the second call, but you see that this runs in parallel as the other things, because we will all finish together at the end of the project. Yes. Now about the open calls. So the current call is the second one that we launch. We have already launched the first one. In total, we have these two open calls. We are financing 30 additional projects, so 30 ideas for a total budget of 4 million. The goals, of course, is to have SMEs and other actors helping us to develop this platform. And we have a focus on research-oriented institution and business-driven organization. Now, as I said, we had the first one. We already started this project. They are financed. And this call today, or this webinar, is about the second open call. It is open. The deadline for application is August 15th, 2024. So here you have a QR code with a link to this call. But I guess that you already found the website since you are in this webinar. That's it for the short presentation on my side. So I give back the stage to you, Ellie, for the next presentation.
Thank you, Alain. Let me just share my presentation again. Okay. So now we're moving to Open Call 2 and everything you need to know about it. First, what is the objective of Open Call 2? And as mentioned briefly by Alain as well, here we're focusing only on co-development. What we're looking for, we want to engage with additional organizations such as yourself that can provide additional modules and features that can be built on top and as part of the CORTEX2 architecture and can extend the offer that we have. Our goal is to contribute to CORTEX2 digital XR platform, specifically geared to facilitate work and social activities involving physical interaction. Before we move to the specificities of Open Call 2, I just wanted to provide you with a glimpse of Open Call 1 winners for you to understand what we have funded up until now. As mentioned, we have two tracks for Open Call 1. Track 1 is co-development, what you're going to be applying for, and track 2 was for use cases, so proposals that are going to additionally test what we're offering with actual users. For track 1 co-development, you can see the 10 projects that we have funded. So you can see that we have for example, dynamic library of personalized gestures, virtualization service for object reconstruction, multiplayer haptic interactions, realistic avatars for XR, and many more. Since those projects have started their participation in our program just last week, right now we're working on their introductions on our project website, and you'll get more information dedicated to each project with what specifically they're working on. They have applied under the topics that were relevant for Open Call 1, and what we're doing right now is bringing additional topics where we do not have any development set yet, and we want you to bring your proposals forward. Just a sec. Yeah. So as I've mentioned, Open Call 2 is for co-developers. Main design of the Open Call and the main things that you need to know. We are closing the call on the 15th of August and at 5:00 p.m. Brussels time. What this means for you is that this is a tight deadline. We are not going to be accepting proposals coming after this deadline. our strong suggestion is for you to plan ahead wisely and do not apply in the very last moment. How many projects we're going to be funding? 10 projects. Each project is going to receive 100,000 euros per proposal, regardless whether it's going to be submitted by one applicant or whether it's going to be a consortia of two applicants. The funding is fixed and it's up to 100,000 euros. How long? For the projects that are going to be participating and are going to be accepted in our funding program, you're going to be collaborating with us for a total duration of 9 months. Yeah, sorry, like my clicking today is not working with me properly. Additionally, what else you need to know regarding the target companies or organizations? We're looking for startups, SMEs, but also research organizations and everybody that can work as a tech developer. So if you have the expertise to be developing those solutions and to bring them close to market, we are looking for you. As mentioned, applications can be submitted by either one applicant or two applicants that are complementing their expertise. Our goal is to develop the additional modules and features that can complement our offer. Something that is important for you to know also is that we're going to accept only one proposal per team and that an entity can be funded only once. What this means in general terms for you is that, for example, if one entity is applying with several proposals, even if those proposals are very good, we can fund only one of those because an entity cannot be funded twice. Regarding the topics that I've mentioned briefly, for Open Call 2, again, we have topics, 8 of them are fixed, and also we have an opportunity for an open topic. Here you can read briefly the names of the topics. We're looking for embodied avatar, smart generator, virtual experience editor, multi-person reaction recognition, Gaussian splatting-based reality capture for VR, 3D model database, real-time voice translation, and anonymizing meetings content for privacy-free data storage. Not only, of course, you have those titles of the topic, but in a bit I'm going to show you all the documentation where you can find a lot more information for each of the topics and what we're looking for. In case you do not recognize yourself in any of those topics, this is not a problem. We have an open topic as well. You can bring your offer to us. And if this is aligned, as you see, with the CORTEX2 framework and objectives, of course, we're going to assess it. And if it's good, you can become part of our collaborating team. We also have projects that have applied under the open topic and open domain for track 1 and track 2 in Open Call 1, and they have been accepted. Click. Okay. Just a second. Okay. So those are the documents that you have access to. Where you can find them, of course, you can find them on the CORTEX2 website. You have a dedicated section for Open Call documentation, and all those documents are available there. What is important for you now is the first 4 documents, which are Annex 1 guidelines for applicants. This can be considered your Bible. There you get all information needed for Open Call 2, requirements, eligibility criteria, how we are evaluating your application, contracting arrangements, once you're selected, how you're going to be collaborating with us. So everything you need to know in order to prepare properly and to provide a successful application. After that, we have Annex 1.1, which is a technical description. There we're providing information regarding the CORTEX2 architecture and what is currently available for you to be collaborating with us on. So this is also a very important document for you to read through. Then we have Annex 2, which is the application form. This document on the website is for reference purpose only. The actual application form is available on the F6S page, which is the only way for you to apply. The apply button can be found, of course, on the project website. Once you click on it, you're going to be automatically redirected to the F6S page, and then you start filling in your application. The fourth and final document that you need to apply is Annex 2.1, which is the proposal template for code development. This is the document where you will be filling in your proposal. Once this is ready, you PDF the document and you upload it as part of your application form on the F6S page. The rest of the documents you see here, Annex 3 Declaration of Owner, Annex 4 SME Declaration, Annex 5 subgrant agreement template, and Annex 6 bank account information. This is for reference purpose only. You need this information if your project is selected, and we have provided only for you to be able to understand how the process is going to move forward, but you do not need to fill those documents now. This is how Annex 1 guidelines for applicants look like. As you see, it's not a very extensive document, but at the same time, as I've mentioned, it contains all information you need in order to prepare your project proposals for us. Regarding the topics, in the guidelines for applicants, you have dedicated section for each specific topic, where here you, on the right-hand side, you see an example of such information. In this case, is for topic 3, virtual experience editor. And there we have described what is the challenge, what is the co-development area, what we expect from you in terms of, for example, TRL level, but also deliverables, KPIs, and what we are providing as part of the assistance program, which are going to be part of. Something very important for you to understand here is that you can apply only for one topic. For example, you cannot pick topic 1, 4, and 6 and then place your application for those 3 topics. No, you're applying only to one single topic. Additionally, before I move to the eligible entities for the open topic, we expect that you're going to suggest your own KPIs and your own deliverables, of course. This is going to be further evaluated by the CORTEX2 team, and then it might be adjusted depending on how well it is aligned with the CORTEX2 framework. Regarding the eligibility of entities, as mentioned briefly, we're looking to collaborate with mostly organizations that can work as tech developers for the additional modules and features of the CORTEX2 platform. We're looking for startups, SMEs, but also research organizations. Only entity that cannot apply is for-profit companies that are big enough not to be considered as an SME. Regarding the countries, all countries that are eligible to receive funding under Horizon Europe are eligible to apply for this call. In order for you to check whether, for example, there are some restrictions for your specific country, there is a specific list of eligible countries provided by the European Commission, and also the link to this document is also provided in the guidelines for applicants. Additionally, if you have any doubts, for example, that your company is considered an SME as per the definition of the European Commission, there is a specific document where this is written, and you can check for yourselves. Again, we have provided links to the documents in the guidelines for applicants. Where to start? You open the project website, you go to the tab that says Open Calls, and there are going to be 2 sub-tabs for Open Call 1, which is already closed, and for Open Call 2, where I got all the information that I'm just sharing with you right now. You have access to the guidelines and to all documentation that was provided. You have the apply button that is redirecting you to the F6S page, and timeline and everything else that you need to know. Also there, apart from the fact that it is inserted in all our documents, you also have access to the Open Go email, where you can additionally ask any questions you might be having for the open call, and we are going to promptly respond to you. You have also an option to be asking for those asking your questions in the discussion forum, which is on the F6S page, and it's part of the CORTEX2 application process. When you click on the apply button, you're automatically going to be redirected to the F6S page, and you're going to see the form looking like that. In case you do not have a profile on the F6S platform, you're going to be asked to create one. You either create it with your email, or you create it with one of your social media, with the social accounts, for example, Facebook. My suggestion to you here is to provide thorough information, for example, the thematic fields that you're working under. Why? Because once you create your profile, then you start receiving different types of funding opportunities available on the F6S platform, which is the largest platform for founders and for companies looking for any types of funding opportunities. So the more exhaustive your profile is, the better link to adequate funding opportunities you might get. Then once you have filled in your profile, you'll immediately get access to the platform, to the application form, and then you start filling it in. You have 5 sections where we're asking for very brief information coming from you. And the main thing that additionally you need to submit, of course, is the proposal template. You have a separate question part of the proposal of the application form here, where you submit your PDF document and we receive it as part of your full application. In terms of timeline, as mentioned, we are accepting applications until the 15th of August. Then we're moving to the evaluation and contracting phase. This is going to happen in September and October. How the process is handled, it's explained in the guidelines for applicants, but we are, just for you to know, we are recruiting external evaluators that are absolutely unbiased to your proposals, and then they are collaborating, of course, with the as a follow-up with the CORTEX2 experts in order to see whether there is an exact match and alignment with what we can offer to you as well. Then we are starting for the ones that are accepted. They're entering the CORTEX2 assistance program, where which is with a total duration of 9 months and divided into 3 sprints. Each sprint is with a length of 3 months. First one starts in October 2024. Second sprint starts in January. Sorry, this is wrong, the year, but 2025, which is normal because January 2024 is already behind us. And then sprint 3 in April 2025. As I mentioned, each sprint has a duration of 3 months. Okay, that's it on my side. And now I'm giving the floor back to Alain. You just stop sharing. In the meantime, just to let you know, if you have any questions, do not forget to pop them in the Q&A section. Alain, you're muted.
It's better like this.
Yes.
And I guess you can see my screen, so I can start. So I will give you a little bit of more information about the technology offer, starting by showing you a little bit how we built the entire idea of this platform. So as I explained earlier, we are trying to bind classical telecommunication tools. Here you see examples, Teams, Zoom, Google Meet, and this rainbow platform. We bind them with the power of XR technologies, virtual reality, augmented reality, mixed reality. What is important for us is that what we don't want to achieve is just replicating video conferencing, but using XR devices. This is exactly the example of what we don't want, is that you start a video conference within your HoloLens headset, because this is just changing the device, is not taking the full potential of the XR technology. So we want to have integrated experiences in 3D with tools, with gestures, and this type of things. So this means actually that we had a number of challenges, and the first is that we need to support within our experiences XR, both AR and VR. This also means that we need to represent a user's environment. So this goes also then in direction of reconstruction of your environment, geometry, texture, and also semantics, in order to share this environment with your partners in your call. Interaction tools are very important, so gestures, but also voice messages, and also being able to place virtual objects into an environment. The support of external sensors. We want also this to be stable in terms of telecommunication, so we cannot overload the network channel. And we have a number of dependencies to devices and existing platforms. So what we did is that we started to look at these requirements. So we have a number of functional requirements in terms of interaction, of standard video conference, in terms of IoT interface, device compatibility, XR, and so on. And we have actually defined these requirements in our deliverables. And as you see, this leads to modules that we can build together to create our platform. So when we look at the requirements, we have two types of requirements. First type is technical. So this is maybe the most easy to describe. We want first to have a reference implementation. So we are not going to have at the end of the project a product that will start to be exploited and or commercialized, but we want to have a solid prototype, proof of concept that shows that this is possible to work. Second thing is that we chose Unity as one of the development platforms. So we have two of the pilots that are developed using Unity, but we don't want to stick only to Unity. So we also support the development under WebXR. And so the third pilot is developed with that. And we also have our use case, our pilots that have specific requirements that will lead or that actually have led to specific requirements in terms of specific technological building blocks. But on the other side, we have soft requirements that we also need to consider is that, we want to develop a tool that helps people. So we need to check if the developed technology increase the impression of social contact. Also, that is not actually increasing the fatigue for the users, and that they don't have too much of the so-called techno stress, which is actually the stress induced by the use of too many technologies and devices. And this, we follow this with one of our partners with specific user tests. We have another soft requirement, which is a legal one. The development we do have to be compliant with the GDPR in terms of privacy, preserving communication, that we don't collect data that is not required, or that when we collect data, we make sure that it's either anonymized or stored in a way that it cannot be unveiled to externals. And we have also ethical requirements, such as inclusiveness. So the tools should actually work for everyone without distinction. Accessibility also for all users. Now, with these requirements, we developed in the first phase of the project, was in the first year, an architecture. And now I will show you the architecture. This diagram is also available in the Annex 1.1 of the Open Call documents. But globally, we have an architecture that is divided in 3 layers. So we have on top we have the client block, in the middle we have the core block, and at the bottom we have the services. So actually I will start with the core one. The core block contains all the network communication based on the Rainbow platform. But linked to this Rainbow platform, we have all the interfaces that are required to communicate with external services. So the ones that we develop in the third layer, but also maybe other platforms that are used externally. And we also have a central database to store any technical data that we need to maintain a session, to be able to maintain different objects and different status. This is more the core block. Based on that, we developed clients, and actually when you develop an application, each application develops its own client, and the client is made out of different blocks. you can authenticate users, you can create persons, you can create avatars, you can connect to IoT devices. For this you need an SDK. For AR and partially for VR, you also need a pose tracking. So this is how you know where your user and your device is positioned with respect to the real scene. And also other things like all the assets that you need, virtual objects that you want to place into your scene. And in the last layer, we have what we call the Cortex services. Part of them, many of them are developed within the consortium. So this is, for example, what we call the VCAA, video compression and alternative appearance. This is what I showed you earlier with the possibility of changing your appearance by moving to the avatar. The gesture interaction that is also done internally, the creation of 3D models. So this is a 3D reconstruction based on simple scans of your environment. An IoT server for connecting with IoT objects. Voice transcription is the module that allows to transform the spoken sentences into text. Meeting summarization takes this text and creates summaries of the meetings. And then virtual assistants, so in the shape of a conversational agent and document summarization. So when it comes to the co-creation, so this will be your project, we see them mostly in the lower layer because you will provide for most of them an additional module that will help us deploying new functionalities. Now, the core module will probably be in the lower layer, but you will also have to integrate into the upper layers in order to demonstrate your projects. So it will have an interface also in the server and in the client layer. Yes, I think this is what I just said. Maybe just one thing is that we have, as I said, Rainbow is the network layer, so to say. So we have an SDK that is existing, and we can use all these functionalities for transmitting videos, audio, and other type of data through SDKs that are available for Unity and for the web. And the rest, the remaining points are the points already mentioned in the last slide. Now, in order to first show that this architecture is viable and also iteratively improving the architecture itself, we have developed 3 pilots. So these pilots are currently now in a demonstrator prototype phase. So we have for each pilot a first demonstrator, but you also have to know that these pilots are continuously developed by the partners in the consortium. So when you if you succeed in applying and you start to work with us, you will also get access to these pilots as base applications. So this means that you can take these pilots as an example or a reduced version of the same pilot in order to develop your own technology and see how they can integrate in this pilot. So the 3 pilots that I presented also in the first presentation is the development of an industrial remote cooperation, the development of a training in VR, and the development of business meetings. So I will go now over each of the pilots to explain how these pilots are integrated into the architecture. The first one is this cooperation in AR. So actually AR is on the side of the person that is on site. For the second person, it's VR, either with a VR headset or a visualization of the VR scene on a laptop or a smartphone. And here you see that the abstract representation of this pilot into the layered architecture. So in the middle, we have the Cortex core that is taking care of creating sessions So actually, a video conference session in the Cortex terminology, we take actually the terminology that comes from the Rainbow platform. So it's called a bubble. So a bubble is a persistent space that you can use for sharing data and in which you can start a video conference. But if you stop the video conference, it's actually persistent, so it keeps the data and the things you have, the status and the object that you have left there in order to be able to reuse it in a new session. So we are creating these shared scenes in terms of bubbles in the core. And then in terms of client, you can access these bubbles with different types of clients here, AR headset. So you have one client application that runs using Unity on the headset, and you have another client application that runs also in Unity, but on a desktop application. So your different users can use different types of devices. And in the lower layer, here is a very short form, but we use different services that come from these Cortex extensions. So basically, this scenario is split in 3 blocks now, maybe more horizontally. This is the user view. So on one side, you have the technician. He runs an AR application. This application is implemented using Unity and then deployed on a AR headset. So we are actually using different types of headsets, and the ones that are already compatible with Unity typically works straightforward. On that side, since it's an AR application, you also need a tracker, so a possibility of positioning yourself within your environment. So sometimes it's given by the device, sometimes not. If it's not given by the device, we have our own tracker that's based on the camera input. You can also, yes, that you can use it handheld or glasses. This means that if you don't have a headset, this can run on a tablet or on a smartphone that you take in your hands, or you put it on in AR glasses. And we also have, on top of the reality, we have the virtual objects that are presented to the user. On the other side, you have what we call the expert scene. So this is also a scene that actually reconstructs the view of the technician, but now in a pure VR scene. So the person is able to visualize the surroundings as they have been reconstructed. And since this person can see all the elements and all the objects, he or she can start creating additional elements. For example, he will say, I want to create a 3D arrow for showing to my colleague where he has to press a button. So he can easily create, we have a list of possible additional elements. We can put a stick note, you can put an arrow, you can put a hand, and then you can create new objects, position it in your own virtual view, and this thing is automatically transmitted directly in real time to the technician. And in his view, he sees only the virtual elements. He does not see the reconstruction. So he has a very clean view with only the additional elements, and the rest is reality. The experts will see a full reconstruction of the same scene. And in the middle, we have Rainbow, which is the channel. So we need to transmit not only video and audio, but also all these elements and the updates of these elements. So for that, we use a data channel that is provided by Rainbow. The second pilot now, this is actually a pilot that aims at facilitating remote training. So when you have a specific activity where you need to train your employees or users, they might start their training from home using a virtual setup instead of coming to your place and start a physical training. So for that, we have this pilot where you can define a training room in VR. So you have you specify your context. So what we chose here in this pilot is training on training to use an excavator, so these big trucks that can actually dig holes in the earth. So it's pretty complex to use, but we have replicated the excavator in VR, and people can actually visualize it in VR, and they can learn how to use it in VR. The interesting part is that you can have multiple trainees that are training at their own pace, but they need to be supervised by a human trainer, and this person is himself in a view where he can see the trainees, how they are actually evolving in the different scenarios, and he can enter in a one-to-one communication whenever this is required. So there is an exchange of information. They can share a video, they can also share a discussion between avatars, and this helps them to correct if the training is not done properly, or to give additional advice. So in order to implement that again in the architecture, so we use again the Cortex core for storing our sessions, our bubbles, the state of the trainees, the different courses. On the client side, we have a multiplayer service where we can have multiple avatars interacting with each other. Our scenes, the assets that are relevant for each application or each type of training, and the controllers for Rainbow. And on the services here, we have a virtual assistant that can also listen to what happens and provide automated answers. And these instance 3D models, because for certain trainings, you also need to scan rapidly an object or a scene in order to put it in the scenes of the trainees. Yes, why are we thinking about this particular scenario? Training is because we believe that making a training in VR can be very useful, especially if you're working with dangerous things. So we want to be able to train dangerous situation in VR before going on hands-on. But also it's possible to do simulations if you have expensive installations, nothing get broken, and people can try things at home. That's just pilot 2. Pilot 3 is the business meeting. So yes, it's a pity because we have actually very nice views on the current state of the development. Here is more a diagram to show what happens. So in this thing, you actually enter a business meeting where you want to communicate with different partners, speak about your business, and you do that by entering a virtual conference room where you are embodied by an avatar, and then you can actually move in the room, take a seat, and discuss with the different avatars, and you have the impression to be in an actual room. So we are actually providing currently one room, but given actually the project that just started, we will be able to provide a collection of meeting rooms that you can choose from. Then people can enter, can sit around the table and start a discussion. Because people are using virtual headsets, when they move their heads, they are tracked. So if they are looking left and right, then the avatar will also do so in the virtual room. So we replicate a natural interaction between the users. But the interesting thing here is that on top of just discussing with people, we have a virtual assistant that is listening to the conversation and is able to provide you with novel information or synthesized information if you feed it with relevant documentation. So the idea is that within these bubbles, you can actually provide reports, documentation, different type of information. And whenever there is a question in the meeting, you ask the virtual assistant, tell me again what was the business expenses last year, and this virtual assistant understands the queries, goes into the data set, checks for the answer, and gives you the answer. This is implemented by our partner CEA, and it's quite useful. And also in this scenario, we have a connection to Internet of Things devices, because sometimes in meetings, you need also to assess and to look at values from different sensors that you have in your factory. So you can plug into, or you can create an asset in your business meeting that reproduces the values that are read from IoT devices. Here again, we implemented it following the architecture with the 3 layers. So here, starting by the bottom, the services that we provide is the virtual assistant and the summarization of text. We have in the middle the mediation gateway, which is actually providing documents to the layer below and taking them back and providing them to the clients. And also the rainbow, that is the channel for transporting information. And on the top, we have the client that implements the various things are presented in the description, which is the embodiment of the users as avatars, the connection with IoT objects, the creation and integration of new assets, objects, and different environments. And also a specific bot, we named that the IoT bot, because when you want to pull information from your IoT devices, you can do it technically through a bot that lives inside the Rainbow SDK and is listening to your requests and provides your information. And it's the same mechanism as we use for the virtual assistant. So this is how we implement our pilots, and with that, I hope it gives you an impression how you could implement your new modules within the architecture. This was the last slide for the pilot 3, and with that, I give back the floor to Ellie.
Thank you, Alain. Very, very detailed, and I hope that this was as well valuable to the attendees of today's webinar. Now we're moving to the Q&A session. We have tried as much as possible to answer some of the questions already in the Q&A directly. Prior, I asked the questions, I state the questions that were not responded in the Q&A section. Just a very brief overview, because numerous similar questions have appeared. This Open Call 2 has a funding of maximum 100,000 euros per project. It is not 200,000 euros. 200 was for the use case as part of Open Call 1, which was part of the slide that you have seen in the beginning. For Open Call 2, it is 100,000 euros per project, not per applicant. The funding rate is 100%. We do not expect any co-funding coming for you. And this is very important. Thank you for the question. When you are preparing your proposal template, do not insert any co-funding. Calculate your your budget only on the basis of the funding that you're going to be provided, which is up to 100,000 euros. Okay. Then moving to the questions that were not answered very briefly. And again, if you need anything additionally to the answers that were typed in, please go ahead and write them here. In case we do not have time to answer to them additionally, you can send them to our Open Call email, and also you can post them in the discussion forum on the F6S page. Now, first question. As this is basically a co-development which provides new functionality for the CORTEX2 platform, what are the benefits to the partner at the end of the project and ongoing, and who owns the right to the new functionality? Alain, do you want to take this?
Yes. So you're right, it's a co-development, but it's not necessarily a co-ownership, in the sense that if you develop a module that provides a clear SDK and provides us with some functionality, then we can integrate it in the Cortex platform, but you do not necessarily rely on the Cortex platform to make your own development work in the future. So this means that the benefit for you is that you actually you are the owner of what you develop in this project. The only exception is that if you truly rely on a module or a part of code that depends on another project, on another partner, sorry, then you enter what is called the co-ownership. In that case, you can still commercialize or exploit your result, but you need to do so by negotiating with the co-owner the conditions on how you are going to exploit it. That being said, even in that case, there is a rule in the contract that says that if you are in a co-ownership situation, you must enter negotiation and you have to offer your part in reasonable conditions. So there is definitely a benefit of applying for it because you can actually exploit what you are doing in this project. I see Eva is raising her hand.
Yes, sorry you cannot see me. There's some issue with the video, but just to complement from the other perspective what Alain you already mentioned. So the benefits are also that you are entering to the CORTEX2 group of a lot of professionals and you are naturally expanding to the network. You will be also working with an assigned mentor that will be one of the experts from the CORTEX2 project. And also on the top of that, you will be, or if you are selected beneficiary, you will be also provided with the dissemination services. So whatever you're going to be developing, we will be expanding you know, the news and exploitation of the results of the beneficiaries. So there are a lot of additional added value apart from direct funding to definitely consider applying to the call.
Thank you, Eva. Moving to the next question, should we in any way with our proposed use case, it's first just to make it clear, you're proposing co-development. We do not have a use case track. So should we in any way with our proposed project connect to the existing pilots? Would that be, and would that give an extra value to you?
Yes, first let me precise one thing, because in the previous call we had two tracks, one about co-development, so creating new modules, and another one about proposing a new use case. Now these two tracks are closed, the project are starting. This means that in the new one that you will apply for, it's not about creating a use case, it's about creating a module, co-development. So the major thing that you need to provide is that it's a new module that helps us implementing various use cases, but you don't have to focus on a specific use case. Now, it's not mandatory to refer to one of the pilots, because depending on the topics, it might be very generic. So you do not need to choose a specific pilot and say it will work specifically for that. But if you show or in the description that how it could be used in a pilot, I think it could be beneficial for us to understand how the module can be used. But actually, when you will be looking at the topic description, you will see that they are more generic and not linked to a specific pilot.
Thank you, Alan. And I think you answered the second question, but if you want to build on top of it, does the extended feature have to increase the feature set of one of the pilots?
Okay, again, so for the 8 topics, I think it's quite clear what we expect. So the topics are defined, what type of technology should be developed, and what should be the KPIs that we want to measure at the end. For the open topic, if you would like to propose something new, for us, what is important is that it's complementary. It should not replicate something we already have. So we already have, for example, hand gesture recognition and things like this. So in that sense, it should increase the feature sets, but it does not need to stick to one of these 3 pilots. For one reason is that with the first code, we started 10 additional use cases, and these use cases could also benefit from an extension of Cortex.
Thank you. I do not see any unanswered questions in the Q&A section. We're a bit ahead of time, so in case there aren't any other questions, I would like to thank you for participating in our webinar. As I said, we are always here for you. In case you have any other questions, we are going to respond to them. And do not forget that on the 31st of July, we have our second webinar where exactly we're going to be focusing on the topics and all you need to know about them. There we're going to have our tech developers and you can ask them questions regarding the specific topics. In any case, if you have any questions upfront, please do not hesitate to share them with us. And that's it. Thank you for attending and see you next time.
Thank you.